All right, let's get this crazy lady on.
You're talking
Now
about
I'm fairly
possible
certain
fake
this video is a troll, right? But the
But
point
will
still
that stop us from
stands.
talking about it? Absolutely not.
No, because it spurs a conversation on. I'm fairly certain the video is fake. I mean, I can't believe this woman's this nuts.
It's a good thing, you guys, and Anthony doesn't know how to like make fake AI videos. Because instead of us talking about his tweets all day, we'd be talking about fake videos he made all day.
So the video itself could be fake, but it doesn't change what my thoughts on it are, because there are mothers doing this, maybe not this explicitly, but I know personally mothers who encourage their children to have sex out of wedlock in their teens. Like, I actually know people who are doing it, and I think it's nuts.
My 14-year-old is officially pregnant and having a child. Before you guys come for me, she has been in a relationship since she was 12 with the same guy. He is also 14, okay? So I don't want to hear any of the weird stuff, okay? So at first I was a little taken back when she said that her and her boyfriend were trying for a baby because she's 14. And I was like, girl, like, you can't handle a baby at that age. But she knows I really love puppies and I really love kids.
I mean, it's clearly
we
fake.
talked about it and stuff down. She said she thinks she's ready and that she's mature and she's a lot more mature than the kids in her class, that she's been with him for 2 years and that they think that they're ready. And I brought up the concern, like, hey, you're in school, how are you supposed to go to school? And she said, well, Mom, you love kids, you can watch my baby during the day.
All right, you can take that. It's clearly fake, right? It's clearly a troll.
Why are we watching this?
Because because it's going to spur on a conversation. That's why the point of these videos is to spur a conversation. I know when we like when my wife and I were talking to like friends of ours about our kids and how we're teaching our kids abstinence, and my daughters are not on birth control and things like that, like they laughed at us. And we are talking about people who buy their teenagers condoms and get their daughters on birth control. I know one mother who's worried that her son is same-sex attracted, so she is letting him have girls sleep over and giving them alcohol at 15, 16 years old, hoping that her son sleeps with the girl, because like this is psychotic behavior. And there's I would say like 90% of your average parent right now, like, are bringing their daughters to get on birth control, going, well, you know, you just can't control what your kids are doing. They're just going to do whatever they want to do. They may as well just be safe about it.
I hold nothing but true scorn for any parent like that. Like, not it's not a lack of respect. It's way deeper than that. Like, honestly, I can't even say.
No, you actually hate your children. You hate your children because no matter what you say to them at that point, if you're doing that, you're saying, I'm going to say this thing to you, but I know you're not going to listen and you're going to go do what you want to do. And it's not just that. Like, I know there are
it would be better for you to give your child crack,
heroin, right? Like,
it would be better.
There are mothers who talk to their teenage daughters about the boys they've been with, and like, it's insanity. Like, we are living in a time that is so debauched and disgusting. Like, I saw there's this Protestant woman who went on a podcast with a gay guy who he had a surrogate child. Like, they did IVF with his partner, and they had a child. And it's like, we see, like, most of these conversations are being had by women, and they're doing the pro-life women's approach. And it's like, oh, a child has a right to their mother. And it's like, yes, that's true. As far as it goes, they do. Like, a child has a right to their mother. And yes, there are babies that get killed in IVF, but like, they're missing the bigger picture. One, that sodomy is reprehensible. Like, it's disgusting. Like, it's just reprehensible, right? That's first off. Second off,
did you see all the prots today saying how having gay sex is just as like immoral as having premarital sex?
There's these people, they don't understand natural
They're
law
so
whatsoever.
dumb.
Like
They're
they don't
so
understand
stupid.
disordered natural law whatsoever. So like, but getting to that disordered lifestyle, like what you're doing when you bring a child into that, you are giving them zero chance at a healthy monogamous relationship for the rest of their life. Like almost a zero chance, like unless they have like a true conversion to Christ, because what you're doing is you're bringing a child into an environment that is so disordered that you're basically setting up what this mother in this troll video is doing for whatever kid you bring into that, because you're setting sex up as like it's just this thing for pleasure, go do it with whoever you want, and they're encouraging these kids to experiment in wild and insane ways because every one of these people are activists and they want to parade their LGB whatever kid around as if it's a toy. Like they're all Munchausen syndrome by proxy lunatics, all of them.
There will be studies done in the future on like what the hell happened to these couple generations of women that literally made them all clinically insane.
I think maybe that will happen, but it'll be far too late by then. But I think
Oh
so
no,
much
yeah,
of
it's going to be like 200 years.
far too late by then, right? But I really do think this has a lot to do with even allowing women to have these conversations in the pro-life movement. Like it's so worried about like saying the real issue that's happening, and it's like yeah, IVF is gross because it commodifies kids. But that's like a little tiny segment. It's like you're going to put a child with two men who do the most disgusting act imaginable. Like, how can we as a society be okay with this? It's so insane.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how that conversation gets changed. I don't know, because I'm telling I've watched a couple of these episodes and like I'm not even knocking the woman who had the conversation, because it is very difficult to have a conversation with somebody when you're telling them what they do is wrong, right? Like it's not
I think that's the only way. I think that's the only thing we can do. I mean, and we're gonna lose friends. But like, we got to start shaming people, dude.
yeah. Well, look, I
don't care if you've been my family friend for forever. You did what? You talk about what with your daughter? No, fuck off. I don't want you around my family anymore. You don't get to be around my kids, you disgusting pervert.
It's something. It's just something's got to change in the conversation because it's getting so out of hand. I have a somebody I was speaking to recently who struggled with same-sex attraction, and they had like a total conversion, and now they're
sorry for swearing, everyone.
Yeah, I think it was just it wasn't like you were.
Yeah,
it wasn't like a Tim Gordon swear for the sake of swearing. I think you were just welled up with the emotion at the moment. But I have somebody I spoke with recently who like got out of that lifestyle, and I'm trying to be vague because I don't want to say who it was, but they now work they now work in the field of like counseling, and he was going through this training for the counseling, and in the training program the trainer brought up Pope Francis and Fiducia Supplicans, and he went nuts, and he's like it just completely set him off. He's like, you have no idea how enraging it was to sit there and listen to this person tell me how like I'm going through this training program on counseling, and they're telling me how the church is okay with this kind of stuff now. You talking about Jason again? Jason and his daughter who could only put up 135 pounds. I'm kidding. I'm only kidding. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It just gets harder and harder to watch these conversations happening because they're not being had properly. And I don't know. I'm afraid. I don't know if I feel comfortable having like a sit down with a well-known married gay man. And I mean, I probably would just have to lose it and just be like, you're disgusting. Like you're gross. Like the fact that conservatives let a guy like Dave Rubin into the inner circle of conservatives, like you people have no shame. Like, what are you doing? How are you making him a voice in conservatism? I saw Kale going off about Jordan Peterson talking to David French, and he's like,
I did
it's
see
like,
that.
Jordan Peterson's just like a slave to his podcast, The Daily Wire now. But it's like, all right, so Jordan Peterson trying to normalize David French into conservative conversations, but it's like somebody normalized Jordan Peterson. Maybe I helped with that
You
to put
did.
him into conservative conversations because he's always been a lib. And and the thing is, things were so crazy when things like 2015 to 2018, things were so insane that like a guy coming in and going, clean your room. It was like, whoa, he's so trash. It's like, clean your room, stand up straight. And like we all bought it. And it's like, that's how bad things were. Look, I do think Jordan Peterson had some valuable things to add to the conversation, but it's like these are libs who just think the trans
his
stuff
wardrobe was not one of them.
No, it wasn't. But these are just like liberals who think like the gender stuff went crazy and like but like with James Lindsay, all these guys, these are just libs who were like,
they're just 2012 libs. They're not 20.
Yeah, like the gender stuff went too crazy. So like they spoke out against gender stuff, and we all thought like, oh, these are good guys. And it's like, no, they're not. They're not. They're still libs.
Yeah.
And now they've Trojan horsed their way into the conservative movement. And now we have the Overton window is shifted so freaking far at this point. It's just nuts.
We're gonna have to stop playing the game. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna have to, with the structures that we have in society today, we will not be able to get back to a place of sanity. You know, we're not going to vote our way out of this. You're not going to, it doesn't matter how many so-called conservatives you get on your local school board or on your local city council, none of that's gonna work.
I think that they're orchestrating another revolution, though. Like I really do. I think they're manipulating into another, like, because this current system can't go on the way it is. Like God can't allow it to. It's just too degenerate at this point, right? Like God is. At a certain point, if a father, like somebody just said, if you spare your child the rod, you're like, right? Where did they put that? This goes for God as well. Like, spare the rod, spoil the child. Like, God has spared the rod for too long. Like, something needs to happen at this point. And I was talking to my cousin last night about it. It's like, okay, so it's going to be something like the remnants of what are going on now will be included, just kind of like the Roman Empire when it collapsed. Like Christianity kind of picked up the pieces and built something after. Like something's got to be built after this. Like this current thing just can't continue. I mean, it's on its last gasp and it's spitting on fumes right now, and there's not much left to it. I don't know when that happens or how soon, but
well, it was like the political order 110 years ago, right? Going into World War I. I mean, it was on its last gasp. The world order that had been built at the end of the Napoleonic Wars, you know, it barely survived the revolutions of 1848. It somehow survived that. Then you had, you know, the Italian unification and the German unification. But it was, I mean, it was on its last legs there going into the 1910s, and every country felt it. Every country was hungry for war, right? They were ecstatic when World War I finally kicked off. You know, they were ecstatic. There was parades, there were celebrations. They you know, they were ready for that world to end, and it did. Obviously, I mean, World War I was like a European suicide. It was a suicide of Christendom, basically, right? And you had the U.S. come in, and you had the U.S. kick out the Habsburgs, and you know, you had Germany working to overthrow the Tsar, and then of course we worked to overthrow the Kaiser, you know, and then you had this hollow shell of Europe that limped along until, you know, some certain peoples tried to
tried to bring some pride back to their nation, right?
And did so maybe in very poor ways.
maybe some poor decision making there, but you know.
But what I mean, World War II was an attempt by both sides, by one side to finish what had been started, and by the other to rectify something, right? Now, now the Germans and Italians, they weren't wanting necessarily to get back to Christendom, obviously.
Yeah, it was a secular movement,
right?
whatever
It was a secular nationalism, which is can be very dangerous, but they were trying to rectify what they saw were the wrongs, and
yeah,
and
yeah.
now look at the world we're living in now, and
I think something's going to happen. Like I don't know. I see Trump is now on board with, oh, we got to get Ukraine more weapons. It's like, dude, what? You were the guy telling us you'd have this thing wrapped up on day one. Now you're talking about we got to get more money to Ukraine.
While he berates us for why we're still asking about Epstein.
Oh man, people that are still on the Trump train, I don't get you guys.
I don't get it either.
I don't get you guys. I don't know. You guys are still going to try and convince me that Trump is the guy we voted for. Stop it. You guys are all out of your mind.